Okay, so today's video is geared more towards the beginner, somebody who's looking to put together a home recording studio. And we're going to take this in different steps, putting things in different categories as far as quality and price. Now, again, this is geared more for the beginner, so if you already have your recording studio already set up, this may not be the video for you, but you might get some really good pointers moving forward with new purchases that you may be considering. So stick around. Okay, and welcome back. Today, again, we're going to talk about putting together a home recording studio. And as I said in the introduction, we're going to categorize everything so that we have from the least expensive gear to the most expensive gear. And we're also going to put everything into perspective as far as what you should be purchasing first, what you should be prioritizing, what is the most important piece of gear that you should have so that you're not spending money, wasting money up front and buying the essentials first. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And of course, not going to go too deep in this, but what you need to get started is obviously a computer. I mean, that just goes without saying. And then aside from the computer, you're going to need a DAW. Now, as far as the computer is concerned, I would strongly suggest looking at something that's going to have at least, and I mean the very least, 16 gigabytes of RAM, because you're going to need that RAM, especially when you start using up to 16 and 24 tracks for your particular project. You're going to need that RAM, so make sure you're getting something with at least 16 gigabytes of RAM. Also, you want a pretty big hard drive because hard drive space is going to get taken up very quickly depending upon the DAW that you use, the plugins that you buy, and things of that nature. And you want a really fast and strong CPU. Now, personally, I use the Hewlett-Packard Omen. I've been using it for a lot of years now. I'm very happy with it. It gets the job done, which is something I always like to say. It gets the job done. As long as it's getting the job done, I'm happy. That Hewlett-Packard Omen is something that you might want to take a look at. They make a few different models, but that's your starting point. Next would be your DAW. Now, obviously, you have to have something to record into. So that DAW, you've got Pro Tools, you've got QPAS, you have Reaper, there's so many of them out there. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but I personally use QPAS and I use Reaper. Now, let me tell you something about Reaper. Don't overlook Reaper. People look at Reaper and they say it's just a one-time fee of $75. It's probably just not really that good. Let me tell you something about Reaper. There are times when I work in projects and I always start off working in QPAS, but sometimes I'll bounce back to Reaper. It's really well laid out. It's very simple to use and it comes with so much. It is loaded with different tools and different options and what they call actions so that you can set things up to pop up for you automatically. Reaper is no joke. Trust me, it's a really good tool. So you've got your computer, you have your DAW. The next thing that you need to take a look at, and this is the first piece of gear that you should buy for your studio, and that is going to be a microphone. Why a microphone first? It's very simple. Everything that you do, unless you're playing a keyboard or a synthesizer, you're going to need a microphone. The microphone is the first thing that signal, that sound touches so that it can get into your DAW. Not just a microphone, but a good high quality microphone. That's what you want to look at, a good high quality microphone. We're going to get back to all of this later, and we're going to touch on a few different options that you have there. The next thing that you want is something to plug that microphone into, and that's going to be your preamp. There are a lot of different preamps out there, and we're going to get into a couple of them individually as far as price-wise and quality-wise. Next, you want to get an audio interface, because everything's got to get from that microphone, from that preamp, into the audio interface, and then into that DAW. So you want a good quality audio interface. And we're going to touch on that as we go along as well. The next thing you want is a compressor. Compressing is very, very important when you're making your recordings. I think most of you get it, but to truly understand how important it is to make sure that everything is nice and level, and one low frequency isn't overpowering the high frequency, and things don't start to sound muddy, or they don't start to peak, or whatever the case may be. Compression is very, very important, and it's important to buy a high quality compressor. Now, as usual, I have my notes here. I've got them right here. I'm sitting right here next to me so I don't miss anything. Next, you want to take a look at an EQ. Now, you might say to yourself, well, why the EQ after the compressor and not the EQ before the compressor? And here's why. Most DAWs that are out there right now come with tools that are built into them, and most of them have EQs. Not to say that EQs are any less important than anything else, but that compressor should come before your EQ, because EQs are so prevalent, especially nowadays, built into these DAWs, and they're all really good. Unless you want to go really high level and get something with some big bottom, or something that's going to take those high frequencies a little bit up and give you a nice fat mid range, then you want to go into hardware, or you can go into some software. But that's why I put EQ last in the chain. Okay, so let's go back now, and we're going to go ahead and categorize everything as far as the lower end, lower cost pieces of gear, and then the higher end, higher cost pieces of gear. So to begin, let's start for the beginner, just building your home studio, and you've got your computer, you've chosen your DAW, and now we go to piece number one, which is that microphone. Now, a lot of microphones out there, a lot to choose from. If you haven't taken a look at my video, go back and watch that video that I did on microphones and different types of microphones. You have the cardioid, you have the super cardioid, you have ribbon microphones. There's a lot of different types of microphones out there, so make sure you're buying the correct type. So go ahead and go back and take a look at that video that I did previously. But back to the microphone itself. For the home recording studio, for somebody who's just starting out and wants to keep the price down, highly recommend the Shure SM58 and or the Shure SM57. Now here's why. Number one, price. Both of them are $99 each. That's it, $99. You walk into any studio across this entire planet and you will always see an SM58 and an SM57. The SM58 works fantastic on vocals. Again, it's not the highest quality, highest level microphone out there, but it is a fantastic, fantastic microphone for vocals. The SM57 is geared more towards a female vocalist, or you can use it to mic a piano, you can use it to mic an acoustic guitar, and you can use it to mic a guitar amplifier. So it's an all-around microphone. You can use it for a lot of different things. So as far as the lower priced microphones, I would definitely start there. That Shure SM58 and the SM57. Two really good low priced microphones, only $99 each. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the Solid State Logic VHD preamp. VHD standing for Variable Harmonic Distortion. Now, my last video that I did, I talked about harmonic distortion. If you haven't watched it, go back and take a look at that. And this is why I'm recommending this for the lower end budget conscious studio. It goes for about $250 and it gives you two choices. You can either use it in a clean mode, or you can use it in that VHD mode, which is going to dirty up the sound a little bit. Okay, so gives you those two options. It's only $250 and it's solid state logic. And we know solid state logic's been around for a long time. They make really high quality pieces of gear. You can't go wrong with solid state logic. So as far as a preamp for the beginner, for the budget minded studio, I would suggest going with that solid state logic VHD. Okay, then we need an audio interface to plug that VHD into. One that I would suggest again is solid state logic, the SSL 12. Fantastic, fantastic audio interface. The sound is pristine, it's high quality, and I believe it goes for, let me peek at my notes real quick, it goes for about $500. Okay, so we've got our computer, we have our DAW, we have our preamp, and we have our audio interface. Next, we want to take a look at compression. Don't know what I just said there. We want to take a look at compression. Now, for the low-end, budget-minded studio, take a look at FabFilter. And we're going to take a look at FabFilter for both our compressor and our EQ because they make fantastic plugins. Absolutely fantastic. They won so many awards. You'll see them in most studios. Wherever you go, they're just great pieces of software, and they're going to get the job done for you. That FabFilter Pro EQ, incredible, goes for about $170. It gives you all different types of EQ, and you can have numerous bands of EQ. I believe it's 6 bands of EQ. It's going to get the job done for you, and it sounds great. Little bit of a learning curve, not something tremendous, but there's a little bit of a learning curve there for you. But for the budget-minded studio, for $170, instead of buying hardware, I would suggest going with that FabFilter EQ. Also, the FabFilter compressor. That compressor, top-notch. Top-notch, can't go wrong with it, $170. Okay, so we've covered the computer, and with the computer now we're going to keep that at about $3,000 for that computer. 16 gigabytes of RAM, about a terabyte hard drive, a really fast CPU. I recommended that Hewlett-Packard Omen. Let's just say that's $3,000. Then I said the SM58 and SM57 microphones, $99 a piece. Let's just call it $100 a piece. Now we're at $3,200. Then we're going with the preamp, which is a solid state logic VHD, $250. We're now looking at $3,350. The two fab filters, $170 each, and then also incidental cost. Now by incidental cost, I mean you have to put all this stuff together. You might need a rack to put them in. You might need some wiring, some cables, things of that nature. So we're just going to throw in another $200 for incidentals. And now we are at a grand total of $5,000. Okay? $5,000 puts us right there. And it's around $5,000, but puts us right there for the beginner home studio with a very low budget. It gets you in the door. It gets you started. It gives you everything that you need, and you're up and running with your home recording studio. Next, we're going to go to category 2. And this is going to be the higher end pieces of equipment. I'm talking about the Neves. I'm talking about the Manleys. I'm talking about everything that's looking at $1,000 and up. All right. High quality professional equipment. Not to say that category 1 wasn't professional equipment, because it was, and you will find them in studios. But category 2 is the higher end professional stuff that you will find in these 48-track studios and charging $150 an hour to come in there and record. This is the type of stuff that you'll find in there. So again, we're going to stick with that same computer, that same $3,000 computer. You're going to choose your DAW. Now we're going to move on to the microphone. And for the microphone, for a higher end studio, I would suggest as a starting point the AKG C414 microphone. This is a condenser large diaphragm microphone. It goes for about $1,300, and it is incredible. incredible. The sound that you get out of it is crystal clear. Crystal clear. You can use it on so many different things. You can use it as an overhead mic. You can use it for vocals. You can, so many things that you can do with it. It comes with a lot of different polar patterns. Go back and watch that video on microphones that I did if you don't understand what a polar pattern is. All around workhorse, $1,300, the AKG C414 microphone. Now, we want to take that microphone again and we want to plug it into a preamp. Which preamp do I suggest we go with? The Neve 511. Fantastic piece of gear. As a matter of fact, here's the box from the one that I bought, the Neve 511 preamp. Can't go wrong with it. It gives you silk red. It gives you a sweepable filter. And the sound, look, it's Rupert Neve. We all know that they put out high quality stuff. And that preamp goes for about $700. Next, we're going to take a look at a compressor. A lot of videos out there on this particular piece of gear, and there's a reason why. Empirical Labs Distressor. It's been called the Desert Island Compressor. If you were stranded on a desert island and you only had one compressor, what compressor would you want to have? And that is that Empirical Labs Distressor. It does everything. Everything. It has different modes where it can either act as a VCA compressor, an optical compressor, all the different types of compressors that are out there. It's a phenomenal piece of gear. It's priced at about $1,600 and it's well worth it. If you got to choose one compressor that's going to do a lot of different things, highly recommend that Distressor. Next, we're going to take a look at the audio interface. Now, for the audio interface, you have a lot of different choices out there. You've got universal audio and you've got RME. Personally, my pick would be the RME. And in particular, it's going to be the RME UFX3. Great piece of gear. It comes with preamps. It has 8 preamps built into it. The sound that you get out of those preamps are incredible. So you may not even need the Neve 511. You can just use the preamps in this RME. Your choice. I like to have different flavors, so I like to mix things up, and I have the 511 and the RME as well. Great piece of gear. Goes for about $3,200. Now, you don't want to go quite that high. There are some lower level RME audio interfaces that you can get, and you can also take a look at universal audio interfaces, which are very good industry standards, been around for a long time. You see them in a lot of these videos on YouTube. People are using these universal audio interfaces. Fantastic piece of gear. They're going to run you anywhere from about $2,000 up to $3,500. They're all good. Personally, I just prefer the RME audio interface, just my personal preference. So we've got the computer, we've got the DAW, we've got the microphone, that AKG, we've got our preamp, the Neve 511, you've got your RME interface, you've got your compressor, which is a distressor. Now you want a bus compressor, a compressor for your master bus. A lot of different choices that are out there. I would suggest going with one of these two. The first one being the Solid State Logic Bus Plus. Can't beat it. Absolutely can't beat it. It's a stereo compressor. It has a 4K mode, and that 4K mode is going to give you 9 different levels of saturation and distortion. It has a low THD, which is going to reduce harmonic distortion on the low frequencies. It gives you dynamic EQ. It gives you sidechain capabilities. It is loaded with different options. Loaded with different options. And of course, because it is that Solid State Logic classic bus compressor that has been around forever, major studios around the world have this thing. You know you're getting high quality, and it goes for about $2,900. On the higher end of that, you have the Rupert Neve Master Bus Processor. Again, a stereo compressor. A lot of different things in there. You've got Silk Red. It gives you Silk Blue. It has what they call a stereo field editor, which is basically dividing up the stereo field and giving you the mids and giving you the sides and being able to put EQ on both of them or just one of them and then make adjustments. There's a lot more to it, and I'm probably going to go into a video much later on and give you some demonstrations on it. Deep module. It is fantastic. It's also pricey. Goes for about, I think I'm looking at my notes, but I think it's about $4,500. That's the way that you want to go. Now, if you prefer to get a channel strip, again, tons of channel strips that are out there. Take a look, again, if you're going high end here, high quality, high end, higher price, take a look at that Rupert Neve Shelford. Again, it's Rupert Neve. Don't need to say a whole lot more there. It gives you a preamp and it gives you EQ and it sounds fantastic, and it has a compressor built into it as well. Everything that you can buy between the 551 and the 535 plus a preamp are already built into one channel strip with that Rupert Neve Shelford channel strip. Great piece of gear. Again, very pricey, and this one goes for about $4,000. Okay, so it's up there in price. We put all that together, you choose from the different options that I've spoken about, and now you're looking at probably about a $10,000 home studio that you're going to be very happy with. High quality stuff. Now, of course, we can get crazy and we can look at a Manley reference microphone. This one microphone goes for about $3,500, but it is fantastic. The sound that you get out of it is something like you've never heard before. So if you've got the bucks, if it's within your budget, take a look at something like that. I know it's a lot of money for just one microphone, but if you're really trying to go high end and you're going to have clients coming in, maybe you're building this studio in your basement, or maybe you've rented out some space and you're actually running a commercial studio, take a look at that microphone. It makes a big impression on clients when they walk in and see that thing sitting there, and it sounds fantastic. So we have our lower end budget friendly studio, and we have our higher end, money is no matter here, I can go ahead and buy what I want, high quality studio. The difference between the two, about $5,000. The lower end was only $5,000. The higher end came in at about $10,000. So you're getting higher quality for twice the price of what you're getting with the budget studio. Both are going to work really, really well. Don't get it wrong. Don't say, well, I'm just going to save up my money and wait until I can afford to get the higher end stuff. It's really not necessary. You can start with the budget-minded pieces of gear and then slowly work your way up and replacing and trading things in reverb.com, where there's a used musical gear website where you can go and sell stuff and buy stuff. Always work in that direction. At least get yourself started. Especially if you're a beginner and you're just learning this stuff, don't go with the high-end gear yet. Get the lower-end gear, the lower price gear. I don't want to say lower quality. I'm trying not to say that and make the mistake of saying that, because it's not lower quality. It's just lower priced. Doesn't come with all the bells and whistles that the other ones have, except for a preamp. There is a difference in preamps and there is a difference in audio interfaces. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but there's a company out there that makes clones of a lot of different pieces of gear. They have an audio interface that they sell for about $280. Don't waste your money. Is it going to work? Yes, it's going to work. Does it sound good? Yes, it sounds good. Is it going to last a long time? No, it's not. And after a while, when you decide to trade up and you get a higher end preamp or audio interface, and you hear the difference in the sound that you get from that $300 audio interface and that $1,000 or $2,000 audio interface, you're going to say to yourself, G-Sharp Jams was right. Don't waste your money on a $300 audio interface. Please don't do it. Focusrite now. Focusrite makes some really decent audio interfaces, and they only run, depending on how many preamps you want or microphone inputs that you want, they can be either 1 input or 2 input or 8 inputs. Theirs only run about between $300 and up to $1,000. But the difference is, their $300 preamp or audio interface rather only has 2 microphone inputs. The other $300 audio interface has 8 microphone inputs. Which one do you think is going to be higher quality? The one with 8 inputs for $300 or 2 inputs for the same $300? You're going to get more quality out of the one with just 2 microphone inputs. Clearly, there's a reason why that other company is able to keep their prices so low. Quality products. Always remember that. You get what you pay for. Do your research. Ask questions. Go to Sweetwater. Call Vintage King. Send me an email or put something in the comments box. Or any of these other folks on YouTube that you watch. Ask questions. Most of them don't mind the questions. That's what I'm here for. I will definitely answer any question that you have. But what I ask you to do is take your time and research. Plan properly. Understand what it is that you're buying. And buy things according to necessity and essentials. What is essential? A computer, a DAW, a microphone, a compressor, an EQ, and an audio interface. After that, then start looking at your delays and your reverbs and all these other different effects boxes that are out there. But those are your essentials. That should be your foundation where you need to begin to put together your home recording studio. Until next time, G-Sharp Jams out. Hope you got something out of the video. Please, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate all my subscribers. We're growing, and we're growing pretty quickly, and I'd like to see that continue. Until next time, everybody have yourself a great rest of your day.